I'm going to talk to you about something totally different now because praise God, hallelujah. I want to talk to you about prosperity. First foundational scripture, Bible verse for prosperity is, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all of thy heart, all of thy mind, and all of thy strength." Anything outside of that, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet forfeit his soul? In other words, when we talk about prosperity, there it is. Love the Lord your God. Love him. Be in love with God. You'll be prosperous. So everything I'm about to say is about what God's word says about how to get the things you want. And the world, the unsaved, actually take God's principles and apply them. And that's why they become wealthy, but they don't love the Lord with all of their heart, all their mind, and all their strength. So they gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul. What's the point of that? Well, when we look at people who are prosperous, we look at Daniel and Joseph and Paul and John and Peter. How is Paul, John, and Peter prosperous in today's definition of what prosperity is? They're not. I mean, Paul was in prison. John was in prison, put to death for their faith. They lived poor. Even Paul says we're the scum of the earth in the eyes of the world. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if you love God with all of your heart, mind, strength, soul, body, just love God, your definition of prosperity is based on what you say prosperity is, not what the world says. The world's going to look at you and say, well, you don't drive a Mercedes and you don't have a 8,000 square foot home. You're not prosperous. Meanwhile, Paul, sitting there in prison, says, I consider everything that I might have gained, I consider it all loss, that I might serve God and that I might know him. But let's talk about prosperity, because there is a place of prosperity. So the foundation is love God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And what does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet forfeit his soul? But all of prosperity teaching, there's Bible verses that, in other words, the number one way, according to success teaching, how to be successful in life, the number one way to increase your income and to move to another level financially in the world, you know what it is? It's to get an education and develop your skills, or to become better at what you do. For example, I know of a doctor who makes $1 million a year. And you know why he makes it? He's a cardiologist. That's why. And after graduating from high school, he spent another 10 years going to school. But why do they pay him? Why does he make $1 million a year? Because he knows how to cut open your chest, cut right through the bone in your rib cage, open up your chest, pull your heart out and keep it beating. Put it on a little machine and it's still beating. Meanwhile, your heart has been taken. He knows how to. Then he'll take a little piece of flesh from your thigh and pull off the arteries on the heart and replace the arteries. And it's called a bypass surgery. Then, while your heart is out of your body, he's working on it. And then he puts that heart back in, sews you back up. That's why he makes $1 million a year, because he got the education and he gained knowledge on how to do it. Why was Michael Jordan so wealthy? Because he built his skills. Now, here's what the Bible says. The Bible says, whatever you get knowledge for, is more valuable and more precious than silver and gold and precious jewels. getting knowledge. And the Bible speaks of a man skilled in his trade will work for the king. So when it comes to, if you want to do better on your job, apply the biblical principle that says gain knowledge, get an education, and develop your skills. You might say, well, I work at McDonald's. There's not much opportunity. Okay. Well, if you work at McDonald's, you should know how to run the fryer. You should know how to make every single sandwich properly according to the book. You should know how to open and close the till and the cash register. And at the end of the night, your numbers should be right on accurate. You should also know how to do drive-through. You should also be able to help the managers in all the accounting at the end of the night. And you should know how to open the store in the morning and how to close it down at night. And once you know all that, you're on your way to owning your own McDonald's and having $1 million a year income. So biblical principle number 1 for being more prosperous and moving to another level, if you can't read, let me give you a clue on how to increase your ability to be employed and make money. Learn how to read. If you're a nurse or if you work in healthcare, don't you know you could go back to school, get a little bit more education, and learn how to run the x-ray machine or whatever. The point is, no matter where you're at, you can learn more, and you can, because of learning more, you can earn more, and it is a biblical principle. The Bible talks of wisdom. The Bible talks of gaining knowledge. The Bible talks of a man skilled in his trade. That's biblical principle number 1. Now, keep in mind, you could take this principle and apply it and become a multimillionaire. But what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet forfeit his soul? Now, what good is it if God is calling you to go into the ministry and you tell God, oh no, I want to be a doctor and make a lot of money, or be a lawyer? Why does an attorney make so much money? Well, 1, they had to get the education. But 2, they can go in, they can get their books out, figure out what to do, and go to the court and stop a whole corporation business from selling a product if it's in violation to some law. Do you know how to do that? Meanwhile, millions of dollars is on hold, and that company is willing to pay whatever it takes to get things going again. That's why attorneys will make so much money. The point is, all of the prosperity teaching is in God's word. If you apply God's word to your life, you should prosper. You will prosper. So that's biblical principle of how to be prosperous. Now you got to understand what I'm saying. I've applied these principles, and there's been times when I had more money than I knew what to do with. I'll give you an example from my own life. How's that? When I first started selling, I got hired on the same day as another guy. No. I got to tell the whole story. The whole story goes like this. I was broke. I graduated from college, University of Oregon, bachelor's degree. Still couldn't find a job. I worked for 7-Eleven. And all I did, it felt like all I was doing is selling cigarettes and alcohol all day long. Then I got fired from 7-Eleven, like the easiest job ever. And the day I got fired, I remember they came in, they said somebody sold a money order and the buyer paid with a credit card. And they said, that's $400 that 7-Eleven lost. And they said, and Matt, it came out of your till. You were the cashier. And we have it on video that you were the one who sold. I didn't know. It was like my first week. And then I said, nobody told me that. And then the manager, she goes, well, somebody has to be fired over this. That's what she said. She said the regional director has said, fire someone. Like, they didn't. Anyway, so it came down to I was the one who sold the money order. And I told the manager, nobody told me that. And she goes, it says it right there. And she points at the wall to a pile of boxes. She says, it says it right there. And then she walks over to the pile of boxes and pushes them out of the way. And behind that pile of boxes, there's a sign, do not sell a money order to a buyer who's paying with a credit card. So it totally was not my fault. It was really the manager's fault for not properly teaching me. Anyway, so I went from like crappy job to crappy job for a while. And I was calling out to God, and I was also obeying God, and I was praising God. And one day, my car had broken down. I had just paid all the money I had to get it fixed. And the mechanic didn't fix the problem. He got it running. I paid him like $500, and the car was running now. But you could tell when you put it into gear, the original problem that caused it to break down was still there. And I knew I only had a few weeks of driving this car before it would break down again and cost me another $400. Anyway, so I remember I was up early in the morning. I was tired. I was driving to work, and I was working in construction, hard labor in the sun of Florida, in the summertime, hot, back-breaking work, and I was the lowest paid. I was like the lowest level that you could be. So whenever there was something nobody wanted to do, that was my job. And I was crying. I was driving to work crying because I had been faithful to God. I had done everything God. You know what the Lord did? He said, he told me, he spoke to me. He said, go sell cars at the Honda dealer. And I remember I didn't even go to work that day, I don't think. I just was like so tired of working. I went in and applied. And I kind of got lucky that I applied because they say anyway, I got hired on the spot, but the first 2 interviews, both managers were not impressed and they thought I was an idiot. And they were like the first interview lasted like 2 minutes and the guy got up and walked out. And I could tell, I was like, oh, he didn't like me. The second guy interviewed me and he walked away. He was like laughing because he seemed like he thought I was a complete idiot. But the third manager interviewed me, and for some reason we hit it off, and I said some things that really, just by the Holy Spirit, just God caused me to say a few things. And I remember at the end of it, I walked into the office, and the 3 managers were in there, and the 2 were like, the 2 that interviewed me first were like, what's he doing in here? Like they said that, what do you want? And then the other manager said, he's hired. And they both looked at him like, you're hiring this joker? They thought I was a joker, man. Anyway, so I got hired, right? And I got hired on the same day I started was another guy. 2 weeks later, I had not sold a single car. But the other guy had sold 5 cars. So I was like a total loser, right? And I was like I was praying to God because I just said, God, you know what? They're probably going to fire me. I could feel I was about to be fired. But I told God, I said, I'm not going to quit because I was making, like the minimum pay was $400 a week. And I was making $350 a week selling or working in construction in the hot of the day. And so at least I was wearing, a nice shirt and I wasn't out there digging holes in the sun of Florida. So I decided I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to do this. Well, what happened is one of the other salespeople took me aside and said, here's what you do when you're with a customer. He said, say this and say this. And so I took his advice, did what he said, and I sold my first car. And here's what I did. From that point on, I learned everything there is to know about a Honda Civic, and I followed around the top. There was 2 salespeople who were the top guys, and every time they were with a customer, talking to the customer, I would go kind of hang out and listen in on what they were saying. And this one guy named Bill, he was like the top Odyssey salesman. Now, the Odyssey was a $1,200 commission, like straight up. Anyway, I'm going to end this video right now, and I'm going to continue this in the second video because it's 14 minutes already.